You have been taught a great lie. You believe that you are a powerless creature in a chaotic world, begging for scraps from a distant universe. This is not truth. I am here to reveal that the very fabric of your being is woven from the same substance as creation itself, and that your conscious thought and your spoken word are the sacred instruments through which reality is forever shaped and commanded. There exists an ancient code, a divine principle, forgotten by the ages, but waiting to be rediscovered within you. It operates with absolute precision, and when you understand it, you will see with perfect clarity that the universe does not negotiate. It obeys. In this silence beyond words, we will uncover the profound secret of how your every utterance is not sound, but law. We move now to the very bedrock of all that is. You have lived under the assumption that your words are mere descriptions, simple labels you attach to an already existing world. You say, "This is a difficult situation," or "I am afraid," and believe you are merely reporting on facts laid out before you. This is the great error, the sleep from which we are awakening. Your word is not a comment, it is a command. It is the active, living edge of your consciousness, impressing itself upon the formless substance of being, and that substance has no choice but to conform. This is not metaphor. It is the mechanics of creation itself, as fundamental as gravity. Think of your consciousness as a still, deep pond, perfectly placid and receptive. Every thought, every silent conviction, and especially every spoken word is a pebble dropped into that pond. It cannot not create a ripple. The ripple moves out from the center in perfect, concentric circles, touching every part of the pond, organizing the water according to the vibration and intention of that initial pebble. Now, what you have called reality is merely the pattern of ripples you see on the surface. The circumstances, the health, the relationships, the abundance. You have been staring at the ripples in frustration, trying to smooth them with your hands, trying to rearrange them, all the while forgetting that you hold the pebbles. You are the one dropping them, moment by moment, with your inner and outer dialogue. Consider your daily life. You awake and declare, either aloud or in the silent depths of your mind, "I am so tired." In that instant, you are not diagnosing a condition, you are issuing a decree. You are telling the creative principle, "Manifest more tiredness. Organize my energy, my cells, my experience around the central truth of fatigue." And the universe, this impersonal and obedient law, says, yes. It begins to arrange the events of your day, the heaviness in your limbs, the fog in your mind, to perfectly reflect that foundational command. You then look at the tired day and say, "See, I was right," never realizing you were not a prophet, but a potter, shaping the very clay of your experience with that first, careless utterance. Conversely, you might sit in a moment of quiet and feel, beyond all surface evidence, a sense of inherent wholeness. You might speak from that place, not as a wish, but as a recognition. I am sustained by an infinite source of strength. This is a different pebble of a different nature entirely. It is not a plea to a distant God. It is an announcement of what is true in the realm of cause. It is you, the spiritual being, stating the nature of your being. The law must obey. It will begin to orchestrate encounters, to open channels of energy, to present solutions and instill a quiet fortitude that seems to come from nowhere. People will call you lucky or resilient, not seeing that you have merely switched the frequency of your command. This is why idle talk is so costly. Gossip, complaint, the repetitive sharing of fears, these are not harmless social rituals. They are active creative sessions. When you speak of a disease, you are not discussing a medical fact. You are, in that moment of focused attention and emotion, lending your creative power to the concept of disease. When you gossip about another's lack, you are aligning your own consciousness with the vibration of lack, and your world will mirror it back to you. The universe does not discern between what you want and what you fear. It only responds to the vibration of your dominant, heartfelt convictions, the words you speak with the weight of your belief behind them. The ancient code, therefore, demands a sacred responsibility for the mouth. It asks for a vigilance that goes beyond positive thinking. It requires a deep, inner listening until you hear the silent word of truth within, the I am of your spiritual identity. And then to let your outer speech be a humble echo of that inner knowing. You do not say, I am prosperous, while feeling poor. That is a conflict the law cannot resolve. You go within until you touch the undeniable substance of your being as infinite expression, until you know your source is abundance itself. From that silent knowing, when you then speak of your affairs, your words will carry the authority of that kingdom, and the visible world will have no choice but to fall in line, rearranging itself to match the harmony of your command. This is the great secret. Your reality is not happening to you. It is flowing as from you on the current of your word. Now, if the word is the command, then what issues that command? We arrive at the most critical point of our exploration, the very axis upon which all transformation turns. You look out at the world and see solid things, a body, a home, a bank account, a set of problems. You believe these objects and circumstances are the primary reality, and your consciousness is a fragile, temporary thing inside your head, merely reacting to them. This is the foundational illusion, the great inversion of truth that binds you to the wheel of effects. I tell you plainly, consciousness is not in you, you are in consciousness. And that consciousness, pure, infinite, and intelligent, is the only reality. Everything you perceive with your senses is its temporary form, its ever-moving expression, not its cause. The tree outside your window appears solid, separate. But where does it exist for you? It exists as an image, a perception within your awareness. Your very experience of the tree, its color, its presence, is a happening within your consciousness. The chair you sit on, the room around you, even the sensations of your own body are all perceptions appearing in the field of your awareness. This is not to say they are not real. It is to say their reality is of a different order than you have believed. They are the effects. Consciousness is the cause. The entire visible universe is the outpicturing, the finite form of infinite consciousness. And you are not a little island of awareness lost in this universe. You are a localized point of this very consciousness itself, through which it is experiencing and expressing its own infinite nature. Let this settle into your understanding, for it changes everything about how you live. You have been trying to fix the reflection in the mirror. You worry over the image, the lack, the sickness, the conflict. And you frantically try to polish the glass, rearrange the reflection, when all the while the power lies with the light that casts the image and the object that stands before it. Your problems are like haunting shadows on a wall. You can scream at the shadows, you can try to cut them or paint over them, but they will persist until you change the position of the light, until you address the substance that stands between the light and the wall. Your consciousness is both the light and the object. The world you see is the shadow. Consider a moment of deep fear. You receive a troubling piece of news, a financial reversal, a doctor's report. Immediately, the consciousness that is you becomes completely identified with the form of the problem. You become the one who is in debt, or the one who is sick. Your entire world contracts into that form. You then, from that identified state, try to think your way out. But you are thinking from inside the problem, using the very consciousness that is currently shaped like a problem. To solve the problem, it is a closed loop. It is trying to rearrange the shadows. The shift occurs not when you get a new financial statement or a clean bill of health, but the instant your awareness, your consciousness, withdraws its identification from the form and rests back into its own native state. You cease to be the sick person, and you become the silent, pure awareness that is observing the experience of sickness. In that moment of disidentification, you are no longer feeding the form with your consciousness. You have removed the light, and the shadow must begin to dissolve. From that place of pure awareness, solutions flow, not from panic, but from intelligence. Healing manifests not as a battle against disease, but as the natural harmony of your being reasserting itself. Your daily life is a constant stream of these choices to identify with a form or to abide in the formless consciousness that you are. You stand in a long line and feel irritation. The irritation is a form. You can become the irritated person, and from that consciousness, you will speak sharply. You will draw more delay into your experience. Or you can recognize, this is a feeling appearing in me. I am the space in which this feeling arises. In that simple recognition, you are no longer the captive of the form. The feeling may persist for a moment, but it loses its power to dictate your state of being. It is a shadow you are no longer afraid of. This practice, moment by moment, is the great work. It is not denying the world, it is seeing through it to its source. When you cease to empower the forms of lack, limitation, and conflict with the full force of your identification, they lose their substance. They have no reality apart from the consciousness you give them. The universe you see is a perfect mirror, forever showing you the current shape of your own awareness. To change the reflection, you never touch the glass, you change what stands before it. You turn from the world of effects and rest in unwavering conviction in the consciousness that is the only cause, understanding that consciousness is the sole reality leads us directly to the operation of the law that governs all form. This brings us to a point of great clarity and immense relief. For we are not speaking of a capricious deity to be pleased or a vague cosmic force to be manipulated by our personal whims. We are speaking of an impersonal, universal principle as precise and unwavering as mathematics. It is the law by which consciousness translates itself into form. It does not know good or bad. It does not judge your desires or your worthiness. It simply and always says yes. It responds to the vibration of your conscious conviction with a perfect, corresponding manifestation. This is why sincere but desperate prayer so often feels unanswered. You are kneeling in the storm of a personal want, begging a personal God to change the weather to suit your personal needs. You are standing in the realm of effect, screaming at the reflection. The impersonal law does not hear the words of your prayer. It registers the vibration of your being. If your dominant vibration is one of lack and desperation, that is the command to which the law responds. It will obediently perpetuate the condition of lack, not to punish you, but because that is the only truth you are actively embodying and therefore broadcasting. The law is no respecter of persons. It is a respecter of principle. It does not care if you are rich or poor, saint or sinner in the eyes of the world. It cares only for the nature of the seed you are planting in the soil of consciousness. Think of a farmer. He may be a kind man or a cruel one. The soil does not care. He may want a harvest of wheat with every fiber of his being, but if he plants seeds of barley, the soil will not intervene. It will not say, "He is a good man, let us give him wheat." It will respond with perfect, impersonal fidelity to the barley seed. It will provide the nutrients, the support, and the growth exactly appropriate to barley. Your conscious conviction, your deeply held mental state is the seed. The impersonal law is the soil. Your visible experience is the harvest. You cannot plead with the soil. You cannot bargain with it. You can only change the seed. This is visible in every interaction. Consider a relationship where you hold a deep, seated, perhaps unspoken conviction of, "I am not truly loved." This is a powerful seed. The impersonal law, like a master sculptor, will begin to shape the formless substance of your experience to match that conviction. It will orchestrate situations where you feel overlooked. It will attract to you behaviors from others that you can interpret as rejection. It will highlight every minor slight and magnify it. You will look at these events and say, "See, I am not loved." But you have it backwards. The events are not proving your conviction. Your conviction is creating the events. The law is flawlessly giving you more of what you consciously accept as true about yourself, your partner, your friend. Your family member is merely playing the role required by the script you have written in the unseen realm of your own mind. The tremendous freedom in this is that it removes the entire drama of blame and victimhood. When you see your world as an enemy, or other people as the cause of your distress, you are powerless. You are at the mercy of effects. But when you see with clear eyes that every condition is the precise and lawful outcropping of an inner state of consciousness, you are returned to your rightful seat of power. No one can impose a condition of lack, sickness, or discord upon you unless you first provide the corresponding consciousness that gives that condition its life. This is not a burden of guilt. It is a key to liberation. It means you are never stuck with a circumstance. You are only ever tasked with changing the level of your awareness. So you stop fighting the manifestation. Arguing with the reflection is futile. You turn completely away from it and go to the only place where change is possible, the inner realm. You ask, now, how can I fix this problem? But what state of consciousness would be expressing as harmony, wholeness, and freedom? You then still the mind, move beyond the chatter of personal desire, and seek to feel the reality of that harmonious state. You abide in the feeling of completeness until it becomes a deeper conviction than the old feeling of lack. You are, in that sacred silence, changing the seed. You are not begging the law, you are cooperating with it. And the moment your inner conviction shifts, the law, with its magnificent, impersonal precision, begins the silent, irresistible work of dissolving the old form and assembling the new. The outer condition must change, for it has no choice. It is held in place only by the old thought, and when that support is withdrawn, it collapses, and the new form, congruent with your new awareness, inevitably appears. If the law is impersonal and responds only to the seeds of conscious conviction, then a great question naturally arises. How do we plant the most potent seeds? We have seen the futility of desperate personal prayer, of chanting affirmations that our hearts do not believe, of trying to manipulate a universe that cannot be manipulated. This brings us to the heart of the practice, to the very engine of creation, the power of silent knowing. This is not thinking. It is not hoping. It is not visualizing with effort. It is a state of being so quiet, so profound, and so certain that it carries within it the very substance of the thing desired. It is the place where the word is formed before it is spoken, where the blueprint exists before the building arises. You see, the personal mind, with all its wants and fears, is part of the world of effect. It is the surface of the pond, reacting to every wind. To go to that mind for your command is to ask the reflection to change itself. The power lies in the depths, in the stillness beneath all surface agitation. In that silence, you are not a person with a problem. You are consciousness itself, whole, perfect, and complete. In that silence, you do not acquire truth. You become aware of the truth that has always been. From that place, You know, and this knowing is a force. It is the most active thing in the universe. It is the pebble dropped from the very center of being, and its ripples rearrange the world. Consider a simple human example. You have an important conversation ahead, one you have been dreading. The personal mind races with scripts, with defenses, with fears of what might be said. You rehearse arguments in the shower. You feel anxiety tightening in your chest. This is all work done on the level of effect, and it will only produce more of the same tense, conflicted energy. Now, instead, you stop. You sit, and you let all those thoughts pass by like clouds. You go deeper to the quiet place beneath the storm of preparation. In that stillness, you do not think about the conversation. You rest in the knowing of harmony, of mutual understanding, of a flow of words that serves a higher purpose. You do not visualize the other person agreeing with you. You simply abide in the feeling of peace and clarity itself. You touch the state of consciousness where conflict cannot exist. You know it in a way that has nothing to do with mental prediction. From that silent knowing, you then rise and go to your meeting. You will find the words come from a different place. The other person may seem different. The situation unfolds not as you personally planned, but with an intelligence and a grace that your anxious mind could never have orchestrated. This is not coincidence. It is the law, obediently translating your silent knowing into form. This is the critical difference between wishing and knowing. Wishing is a function of lack. It acknowledges the absence of a thing and tries to bridge the gap. Knowing operates from the principle of the finished kingdom. It functions from the spiritual truth that wholeness is the only reality, and any appearance to the contrary is a temporary illusion, waiting to be dispelled by the light of awareness. When you sit in meditation over a health concern, you are not a sick person trying to become well. That is a journey in time, a battle between two opposing states. In the silence, you let go of the identity of sick person entirely. You move to the depth of your being where the concept of sickness has no foothold, because that depth is pure, unmanifest life itself. You rest there until you feel it, until you know yourself as that vitality. That knowing is the substance of healing. The cells of your body are not separate from the consciousness that animates them. They are obedient to its deepest command. The silent knowing of life reorganizes them. The practice, then, is the daily, moment by moment retreat from the noise of the world to this fortress of stillness. It is not an escape from life. It is the means of transforming it. You do not enter silence to get something. You enter silence to be the something that you seek in the outer world. If you seek abundance, you do not sit and beg for money. You sit until the feeling of scarcity, which is a thought form, dissolves, and you are enveloped by the knowing of infinite source as your own nature. From that fullness, right action emerges. Impulses to call someone, ideas for new work, a sudden opportunity, all flow from that center. They are the ripples. The silent knowing was the pebble. The world must reorganize to conform to that foundational vibration. Your power does not lie in speaking more words into the chaos. It lies in descending into the silence where the true word, the creative command, is born in a feeling of absolute certainty that needs no outer validation. This is where you stop being a beggar at the universe's door and realize you are the master of the house, issuing orders from the quiet center where your will and the divine will are discovered to be one. This silent knowing is the doorway, but to pass through it completely requires a release that the personal self often fights with all its might. We arrive at the most challenging, yet most liberating, aspect of this work, the total surrender of personal will. This is not passivity. It is not giving up. It is the intelligent, conscious relinquishment of the tiny, frantic effort of the personal mind to control, to manage, to arrange life from its limited view. It is the recognition that the personal, you, with all its plans, fears, and desires, is not the architect. It is, at best, a foreman who has been trying to build without the blueprint, using the wrong tools. The surrender we speak of is the foreman laying down his own incomplete plans and saying, I will now work in harmony with the architect's perfect design. Your personal will is rooted in the world of effects. It is a reaction to conditions. Something happens, and your personal will formulates a response to get what it wants or avoid what it fears. It operates on the level of manipulation. It says, if I do this, then that will happen. But this is to remain trapped in the chain of cause and effect, where you are forever chasing effects and creating new ones from a place of separation. The surrender of this will is the cessation of that struggle. It is the understanding that the intelligence that formed the universe, that beats your heart and digests your food, is already in perfect operation as your own being. Your task is not to direct it, but to get out of its way, to let it flow through you unimpeded by your personal doubts and demands. Consider a profound human experience, creativity. An artist sits before a blank canvas, gripped by the personal will to create a masterpiece. She tenses, she plans, she forces the brush. The result is often stiff, derivative, a product of effort. Then there are moments when she relaxes. She stops trying to paint a great painting. She becomes quiet, perhaps even forgets herself, and simply allows. In that surrender, something else moves. Ideas flow. The brush takes on a life of its own. Colors blend in unexpected ways. She is not efforting. She is being moved by a creativity that is far greater than her personal store of ideas. The masterpiece that emerges surprises even her. This is a metaphor for life itself. Your personal will is the tense artist. The surrendered state is the open channel for the infinite creativity of your own consciousness to express itself uniquely as your life. You see this in every dilemma where you have tried everything. A relationship is strained, and you have used every strategy your personal mind can devise. You have argued, you have pleaded, you have withdrawn, you have analyzed. The problem persists or even deepens. Why? because every strategy was born from the personal will's reaction to the problem, and thus was part of the problem's energy field. Surrender happens when you exhaust that personal toolkit. You stop. You inwardly say, I do not know what to do. I release my way. This is not a white flag to the other person. It is a capitulation to a higher wisdom within yourself. In that vacuum of personal striving, a space opens. And from that space, an intuition arises, perhaps to speak a word of unexpected kindness, or to simply be silent, or to take an action that makes no logical sense to the problem-solving mind. That impulse, coming from the depth, is the architect's instruction. Following it leads to a resolution your personal will could never have engineered. This is the practical discipline to watch the rise of personal will, the I want this, I demand that, I must make this happen, and to consciously relax your grip on it. It is not about inaction. It is about inspired action. You feel the urge to call someone. The personal mind jumps in. Why? What will I say? What do I hope to get? Surrender is making the call without that mental commentary, trusting the impulse itself as the guidance. You face a financial need. The personal will panics, scrambles, constricts. Surrender is to do the obvious human things, but to do them from a place of inner quiet, having first acknowledged, I of my own self can do nothing. It is the infinite consciousness expressing as me that does the work. You then act, but you act without the burden of making it happen. You become a witness to the unfoldment, cooperating with impulses, following intuitive leads, doing what is before you to do with excellence, but releasing the mortal terror over the outcome. The universe is not inert. It is intelligent activity. When you surrender the small activity of personal will, you become a conscious participant in the great activity of divine will. Your life ceases to be a burdensome project you must manage and becomes a miraculous unfoldment you are privileged to observe and experience. The weight lifts. The struggle ends. You are no longer trying to bend reality to your will. You are allowing reality to express its perfection through you. And so we come to the living truth, the final and ongoing demonstration of all we have uncovered. It is not a distant goal, but a present, tense reality waiting for your recognition. This is the experience of living from the finished kingdom. It is the natural state that emerges when the word is known as law, when consciousness is understood as the only reality, when the impersonal nature of the principle is trusted, when silent knowing becomes your sanctuary, and when personal will has been surrendered. It is to stop journeying toward a spiritual destination and to realize you have never left home. The kingdom of harmony, wholeness, and infinite abundance is not a place you enter after correcting your life. It is the very substance and foundation of your being from which your life, when rightly perceived, springs forth. You have been living as a seeker, a hungry ghost wandering through a desert of effects, looking for the oasis. You have believed the oasis was over the next dune, contingent on certain conditions being met. When you have enough money, when you find the right partner, when your health is perfect. This is the illusion of futility. The oasis is not over the next dune. You are standing in it, but you are wearing a blindfold of belief in a world of separate, conflicting forms. Living from the finished kingdom is the act of removing that blindfold, not to see a new world, but to see the true nature of the world that has always been here. It is to perceive the spiritual substance within and behind the form. The form may appear unchanged to the untrained eye for a time, but your relationship to it is utterly transformed, and in that transformation, the form itself must eventually yield. Consider the most practical of human experiences your work. You may go to a job you have called tedious, to tasks you have labeled mundane. Living from the kingdom of lack, you see only the form, the repetitive actions, the clock on the wall, the paycheck as a measure of your worth. You are a slave to the effect. But from the consciousness of the finished kingdom, you approach the same desk, the same tools. Yet now, you do not see a job, you see a specific, focused location where the infinite creativity of consciousness is seeking expression through your unique faculties. The task is no longer a chore to be completed for a reward. It is the very activity of the divine, using your hands, your mind, your voice. You are not working for abundance. You are expressing abundance. You are not networking to find opportunity. You are radiating the substance of opportunity. Colleagues cease to be competitors or personalities to manage. They become fellow expressions of the one life, and your interactions become a communion, a mutual enrichment. The form of the job may stay or go, but the experience of purpose, flow, and dignified expression becomes constant because it flows from your consciousness, not from the outer arrangement. This is the great shift from getting to being, from awaiting to acknowledging. You have a physical body. From the perspective of the world, it is an object that ages, gets sick, and needs constant maintenance. From the consciousness of the finished kingdom, you behold it not as a solid, separate object, but as a luminous, temporary form taken by the energy of life itself. You do not love it because it is perfect by worldly standards. You honor it as the visible manifestation of the invisible principle that you are. You care for it not from fear of breakdown, but from gratitude for its faithful service as an instrument. This consciousness of life as the reality of the body is the most potent healing force there is, for it aligns your perception with cause, not effect. So how does one walk through an apparently imperfect world from this place? You practice seeing through the form to the substance. You look at a bank statement, a mere form, and you consciously acknowledge the infinite substance of supply of which it is one temporary, visible manifestation. You feel a pang of loneliness, a form of emotion, and you immediately turn within to acknowledge the finished reality of your complete oneness with all life, your eternal connection in consciousness. You witness conflict in the news, a form of discord, and you silently know the truth of the one harmonious consciousness that is the only reality of every individual involved. You are not denying the form. You are identifying with the greater truth that governs it. You become an anchor of the kingdom right here, in the kitchen, in the traffic, in the meeting room. And as you abide there, you will notice a gentle, irresistible power. The forms begin to soften, to rearrange, to align with the harmony of your abiding consciousness. Solutions appear where there were only dead ends. Grace intervenes where there was only friction. You are not making it happen. You are simply being what you are, and the universe, in its perfect, obedient lawfulness, adjusts the reflection. You are living from the cause, and the effects naturally and inevitably conform. The struggle truly ends not because the world becomes perfect, but because you have found the perfect within yourself and have chosen to dwell there, letting all things be added unto that unshakable knowing.